I didn't hear the first knock. The fundraiser chatter still rang in my head, ice clinking, staged laughter, and a dozen hands that smelled like cologne and obligation. I had just kicked off my shoes when a second knock came, softer, polite, the kind of knock that assumes you'll answer. When I opened the hotel room door, the corridor was empty. Just patterned carpet and quiet. Election quiet, the kind that waits to see what you'll do. An envelope lay on the threshold. No name, no seal. My scalp prickled. The tiny hairs along my neck stood like frost on grass. I told myself it was another congratulations from a supporter, one of the real estate firms or the attorneys who'd promised to help me secure the primary. I told myself it was normal. Nothing about it felt normal. Inside the envelope was a single photograph. Me, shaking hands behind a catering tent with a man whose smile never reached his eyes. In the photo, he's passing me something small and folded. My heart thudded once, loud enough to fill the room because I remembered exactly what was inside that fold. A number, an amount, a way to blur the lines between donation and I owe you. The temperature in the suite dipped. Not a draft, subtraction. Breath steamed when I exhaled. Room control is busted, I muttered, rubbing my arms. But the thermostat screen said 70 and the vent sighed like a sleeping animal. The TV's reflection in the window lagged half a beat behind the real picture. I clicked it off. A third knock, closer, somehow inside the door. Who's there? I hated the ribbon of panic in my voice. A whisper rode the air as if the room itself shaped a mouth. Confess. My stomach dropped. I spun to the deadbolt, still thrown. The chain still hooked. Cold leaked from the bathroom, from the closet, from the spaces under furniture. The silence wasn't empty, it listened. I told myself it was exhaustion. I told myself the campaign had ground me down to nerves and caffeine. I told myself I hadn't taken a bribe. I'd taken help. Everyone takes help. The words felt thin, even inside my head. The bathroom light flicked on by itself. In the mirror, over my shoulder, a figure stood near the bed. Tall, coat the color of wet concrete, face almost right. Eyes set a millimeter too far apart, mouth a shade too wide on one side, the expression like a smile remembered from a description. I spun and the space was empty. My heart hammered so loud it drowned the HVAC. Sweat broke at my temples and chilled instantly. Beads turned to ice pearls. The figure moved again, no footsteps, just a shift in the air pressure. Closer to the desk where my briefcase lay open, donation spreadsheets still glowing on the laptop. The papers riffled without wind. Another photograph eased out of the envelope as though guided by invisible fingers. A check routed through a shell pack, memo line blank. Legal, my treasurer had called it. Efficient. Another whisper closer to my ear. True. I swallowed, and the sound was too loud in the room. Why me? I said to no one, and the past unspooled. The first envelope months ago just to get you through the primary, and my relief. The late night call with the fixer, the coded promises about zoning, permits, a ribbon cutting that would change neighborhoods. The way I told myself service required compromise, how easy it was to be someone I wouldn't recognize if I had time to look. The figure's head tilted too far, vertebrae counting off like beads. Confess, it breathed. Not angry, patient. My knees wanted to go. I gripped the dresser until my knuckles ached. I didn't take a bribe, I whispered, bargaining. I took money that expected things, from people who expect angles. And I said yes. The words scraped coming out like stones through a narrow throat. I said yes. The lights dimmed, then steadied. The cold swelled, then eased a fraction, enough to take a breath that didn't stab. Say it, the air insisted. I'm sorry, I said, and the apology landed like metal on wood. Solid, undeniable. I knew what I was doing when I took it. I knew what it would buy them. I told myself I needed it to win. The figure stood at the window now, or rather, its reflection did. In the glass, the city's lights smeared into gold threads, the wrong-faced head turned, aligning with mine in the reflection. And for a heartbeat, our eyes met at the exact wrong distance. My hair rose along both arms so sharply it hurt. Return, it said. Reveal. I can't. And then, because the room squeezed tighter, I will call counsel. I will file what needs filing. I will return what can be returned. The plan formed as a sequence of knives. Disclose, amend, resign from committees, answer questions I have feared since the first handshake. Each step made the room a fraction warmer. A sound tapped from the door. 3 slow knocks, in rhythm with my pulse. When I looked through the peephole, the corridor was the same lonely carpet, the same humming exit sign, but the envelope had slid back across the threshold as if pushed from inside. On it, in my own handwriting I do not remember making, were 2 words: do it. The next morning my wife asked why my hands trembled pouring coffee. I said the campaign was getting to me. She told me to take a day with the kids, to remember what matters. My chief of staff texted, "Donors ecstatic, great night." My attorney answered on the first ring when I called at 6 a.m. The world still operated oblivious. I didn't tell anyone about the whisper, the cold, the mirror, but I made the calls. I started the confessions you can't unsay. Each one made the sweet light by a feather's weight. Each one made the reflection keep time with me, like a soul agreeing to step back into place. Last night, another knock came. Once, soft, satisfied. The temperature held. The mirror stayed honest. But I know how this goes. I've heard stories. They don't leave because you say you're sorry once. They leave when you live like you meant it. If you've ever been visited, if the room went cold and the past asked to be named, tell me in the comments. We'll band together and find refuge. And beware, don't ignore them. It ends terribly for the ones who pretend not to hear. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and follow us for more bone-chilling chronicles. Join us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky for more, if you dare.